Hello, friends, relatives, and community. Happy International Women's Day. We're so glad you've taken time out of your day or night to celebrate with us and take action for women and the climate. Thank you so much for being here, especially as we come up on a year of this global pandemic and social distancing, when it feels like gathering together, even from afar, is more important than ever. My name is Kahea Pacheco, and I am a co-director here at WEA. Looking around, I see that we have people from all over the world joining us, including my family, and those who have been with us for some time, some of our grassroots leaders in our Global Alliance, Grounded founder Julia Jackson, who we're very excited to be hearing from a little later, as well as our Verizon volunteers. It's so great to see you all again. For those of you who are new to our community, welcome. A little background on us. Women's Earth Alliance is a 15-year global initiative that trains, resources, and catalyzes grassroots women's environmental networks to protect our environment and build a healthy, safe, and just community now and into the future. Since 2006, WEA has worked at the intersection of women's rights and the environment, creating programming, serving grassroots leaders around key environmental themes of climate change, water, agriculture, land protection, and energy. In partnership with both national and global organizations and networks, we co-design capacity building trainings where women leaders access technology, financing, mentorship, and a global alliance. We're turning 15 in 2 weeks, so happy birthday to WEA. And over the last decade and a half of our programs, we're proud to say that more than 6.5 million people in 22 countries have implemented environmental solutions across sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, the Americas, and Indonesia. And at our heart, we are a global alliance, and we're really excited to have you all with us. That work we've done over the past 15 years, we know that none of it would have been possible without all of you, so thank you. While we're gathering virtually today, we want to acknowledge that our organization is based in what is currently known as Berkeley, California, but what is also known as Huichin, the ancestral and unceded land of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people. And I personally want to thank our Ohlone relatives for allowing us to call this place home. To put it quite simply, we are on stolen land, and we as an organization, as community members, have a responsibility, and one that is 100% aligned with our values as an alliance, to do all that we can to be good guests of this land and its original stewards. At WEA, we do this by naming the ongoing and normalized colonization of Indigenous lands, by speaking the original name of this land, Huichin, by collaborating with local Ohlone leaders like Karina Gold, the spokesperson for the Confederated Villages of Lejeune Ohlone. She's a designer and facilitator in our US Grassroots Accelerator. And through our Shumi Land Tax, which supports our colleagues at the Sigorte Land Trust as they do the important work of rematriating their lands. So thank you for being part of the shared vision of our alliance, in which our future is not only one that is thriving and sustainable, but just. This International Women's Day event is very, very special. It is part of our ongoing World Weavers Salon series. This ongoing series of events are created to connect you directly with our programs and grassroots leaders. They are designed to be action-oriented, so not only will you hear inspiring stories from women around the world and learn about the issues they're facing and women-led solutions on the ground, but also how you can be a part of that solution. Today, as part of our International Women's Day celebration, we will ask each of you to pledge to plant a tree and to document it, but we'll share a little bit more on that later. Over the next hour, you'll learn more about WEA's COVID and Climate Relief, Recovery, and Resilience program, which we launched last year, and through which leaders are distributing emergency supplies, securing vulnerable women's immediate health and safety needs, and creating long-term community resilience by launching food, water, health, and livelihood solutions. While this program is being implemented across Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Congo, Nigeria, and Nicaragua. Today, we are going to be sharing more about our Kenya program. And after that, we'll have some time for, we'll head straight into our tree planting session and demonstration. After this call, we'll also be following up with you with an email full of resources so you can jump right into your own tree planting. Does that sound good? Yeah, great. So as we dive in, we had hoped to have our program partners, co-founders of Women in Water and Natural Resources Conservation, Rose Wamalwa and Stella Wanjala, here with us today. But this morning, we found that connectivity in Kenya isn't at its best, but we were prepared for this. So Rose and Stella were fantastic and gracious enough to put together a few brief videos for you, specifically for today, to share more about the work happening on the ground. We've been working with Women in Water and Natural Resources Conservation for the past 10 years, and this most recent work has been such a powerful partnership and a ready response to the compounding crises our world found ourselves in last spring. It's truly amazing to see the impact that's unfolding on the ground. This first video are highlights from the December 2020 COVID and climate training in Kakamega County, which was the first training of our collaboration. So enjoy.
Started off with the first training just to give knowledge, sensitization and awareness creation on what climate change is, the impacts, the adaptations that our women could pick up, the mitigation measures. I want to say this was excellently picked up by the women. The trainings have focused mainly on resilience in relation to issues of climate change impacts and how they affect women. And really we have a story to tell about the transformation that has gone on among our women.
Tumejiunga pamoja kama wamama, tunasaidiana kimawazo, wametuletea makaratasi, tunatumia kwa kuweka miti.
The benefits that the women have got from these trainings, they will tell you they are able to sell their trees that they have been planting and pay fees for their children, provide for food, and therefore actually be able to stand strong even in these times of COVID-19 and climate change mitigation.
Wametufunza jinsi ya kupata mbegu kama ya mboga, nayo tena pia tunapanda kwa mapoma zetu, tukiuza, tukipata mapato kama ya sabuni, hata wengine tunapelekea watoto shule. Tangu wakuje, magonjwa imepunguka kwa ajili tunaosha mikono, hata wametuletea hata mask tunafunga kwa midomo, wametuletea sabuni tunaosha nayo mikono. Wamama wamejifunza vile na wanaweza tumia sabuni, hatukuwa nayo. Sasa hivi wanatuletea material ya sabuni, tunaenda tunakoroka kufukuza magonjwa ya COVID-19.
The women have been very positive with the trainings and the attendance has been perfect, around 100%. Now you can see how they are undertaking the course for COVID-19 response in soap making, and it is going to impact their lives towards preventing the COVID-19 spread.
This training has given the accelerators, the women accelerators, the aspect of the
community climate adaptation actions. For example, the energy saving GECOs. This will reduce, the emission of green gases in the environment.
Saa hii nimejua ujuzi mwingi, wamenifundisha vitu vingi, vile wameleta jiko za kuni 3 ama 2, nitakuwa nikitumia kuni kidogo, alafu kupika haraka, juu nimeziona wametengeneza hapo, alafu nimeona ziko sawa. Sasa nitakuwa nikifurahia kupika, nikipika haraka.
The training has been quite successful, and we are hoping that after this we'll have follow-up trainings and follow-up interventions that would encourage the women to continue participating in the activities that we've been training them to do. I want just to make a mention to say that the women are greatly benefiting, and that's the reason why we have a large number of them coming down to take the training, as we have called them to come over here. Thank you so much, WEA. We pray that the Lord blesses you and we continue working together.
I did see a question from Ivory in the chat. Can you please share what country this initiative is located in? So our COVID and climate resiliency work takes place in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, the Congo, Nigeria, and Nicaragua. Today, we're really focusing the work that's focusing on, the work that's happening in Kenya. So that video was a glimpse into our December 2020 training as part of this COVID and climate resiliency work in, and that was Kakamega County, Kenya. And, here at WEA, we understand the urgency and need that wraps around crises. And we also work to find opportunities for deepening our community care in those moments. In our COVID and climate resilience program, Rose and Stella responded to this moment by really expanding our existing work together. And we're seeing kind of the ripple out of that work through their partnership. And a great example of this is the training they hosted just last week. So during our December training, a leader at the training approached Rose and Stella and expressed, the need for the kind of work and training that was happening in December, the need for that in her specific community, which is the Maasai community. So last week, Rose and Stella hosted our second training for the program, this time in the Maasai community. And we would love to show you what that work looked like now with another brief video.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for this afternoon. Hello, this is Stella Wanjala from Kenya, Women in Water Natural Resource Conservation. I'm Rose Wamalwa from Kenya. We are here to talk to the world actually about the Women's International Day, and probably just share what we've been going through as an organization and a bit of the impact that the WWANC, WEA has been supporting in Kenya, has been able to impact and to help communities. This community is very unique because the women have had different challenges. Women, most of them have not gone to school, and they have the burden of taking care of the families. They take care of the cows, they take care of every activity in the community. So that makes them not to have that platform to raise their voices on what is happening. That is culture, traditions, and gender, in as far as women participation in community development is concerned. And looking at most of the communities in our country, Rosa, I'm sure you'll agree with me, culture and traditions have really pushed down on the women such that they are not able to participate well. And probably that's the reason why you're saying you saw what was happening and decided that you would come in with an intervention. Now, looking at particular communities like the Maasai community, where the woman is the one who is supposed to provide, look for food, take care of children, take care of the animals, take care of the husband, and all this is done by one person.
And then I think it's also important to note that issues of climate change, the people who are most hit are women. And looking at our background, Stella, I don't know about you, but me, I grew up in a rural setting. And so I was able to see and also experience the challenges that women were going through, especially my mom, you know, carrying water on the head, walking for kilometers to look for firewood. And I thought probably if I grow up, I'll want to make a difference in my community. And that gave me the passion to be part of this WANC team.
Training women on issues of leadership has really liberated a number of women. Quite a number of women can now stand out, can now share their issues. And something that is surprising, actually the trainings that you've been having have disrupted culture, have disrupted traditions, and now you can have ladies getting involved in community development. Like now you can find some men allowing their women to go out, attend trainings like the ones we've been giving out, probably for a number of days, and the men will be able to take care of the home, which never used to happen earlier on. Men would never step in for anything that is supposed to be done by women. And we are saying that the trainings that we have carried out have actually changed the women. And the set of women that we have now is really different from what was there earlier.
Traditions are being changed, courtesy of this program that we are running. And you can see even during this training that we've had in Maasai community, men are coming up, to support their women. Men want to know what is it that has happened in the lives of their wives, because initially they never used to be like that. And so I think that is a plus for us, because as an organization, WANC and WEA, we want to create that platform where women can be given a chance to share out their issues. And it's not just the Maasai community. All these communities that we've been working with support of WEA, especially with this program of COVID response and climate change resilience, where we've been able to create a movement of women climate accelerators that are now impacting their respective communities. And so it's not just about climate resilience, it's all about gender issues. This program is also focusing on gender equity and climate justice. There's also the aspect of economic justice. And I want to say that with WEA and WANC, I think there's so much that we've done in the last 2 years. But through this training, we can see that there's been a tremendous transformation and change, because now we are working with the grassroots woman. And this woman is also creating a platform for other women in the community. Chesengei has taken a step of mobilizing other Maasai women in this community, and they have been empowered why they should be involved in issues of climate adaptation and mitigation. Why? Because women are the ones that face the challenges of climate change. If you talk about floods, then it is the woman who faces these challenges. Last time we had a very serious flood in this community, and the houses were demolished. The cows were killed. And so the women took over the challenge of addressing this challenge, actually, to make sure that they're able to be enlightened, they're able to be trained on how they can address these challenges. We also have had drought in this Mara community. We've had quite a number of challenges like food security. And so the heart of conservation is actually taken care of women, especially in Africa, because women they are the ones who access water, women are the ones who access firewood, women are the ones who access food, and they have to make sure that their families are well taken care of. And with the support of WEA, this is what has happened. we have seen women empowered in the area of climate justice, in the area of economic justice, in the area of gender equity, especially in this community. Even yesterday, we were able to see that they had to come late for the training because they had to take care of the animals. They had to milk. They had to take the milk to the market. They had to make sure that the children have food before they come. And lucky enough, even the men were there. So we are discussing with the men and the women to see how best we can address this. So I'm saying that for this community, this is the beginning. And with the support of WEA, we want to make sure that a Maasai woman is empowered, that a Maasai woman is able to take care of conservation and even climate change. We also want to make sure that women are not just beneficiaries, but they have the solutions. The solution to address climate change impacts like floods, like drought. And now from the action plans that even we are seeing, they have come up with a program what they want to do. They want to establish tree nurseries. They want to plant trees. They want to install energy-saving jikos. They want to install rainwater harvesting tanks. And you know, these are all climate change adaptation measures at community level. The WEA program has enabled 30 accelerators, women accelerators in different communities in Kenya. And these women have put up about over 100 tree nurseries in different communities. They've planted over 40,000 trees. And I think to us that is a plus, and we hope that as we continue with these community trainings, we'll be able to do much.
And really, as WANC, we want to embrace the new normal that has come after COVID-19. And as we move into the post-COVID-19 phase, we are really proud of our women, and we want to say that really there is no separation between responses to COVID-19 and climate change resilience. And this was really made well seen by women and communities when climate change impacts really made worse the COVID-19 impacts. And this happened around about the same time that when we were deep into impacts of COVID-19, then the changes within the climate, the floods, and animals that were carried out away by the waters, and families that were lost, houses that were lost, it made the women and the community in general really understand the need for them to be able to plant trees, the need for them to have adaptation measures like rainwater harvesting tanks, so that we can be able to plant trees and have our trees grow and be able to start agribusiness, so that come anything like COVID-19, because we are not saying this is the last pandemic. Any other time a pandemic comes up in future, our women will have their agribusinesses, our women will have their waters, our women will be able to actually interact well with the environment around them, even to control impacts of both COVID-19 and climate change.
I want to revisit the story of one of our accelerators, Chesengei Diana, who has actually made us to come to this community. And Chesengei is a very powerful woman. And I want to mention this, that before she came to this training, before she joined the climate resilience program, she was working in some settlers ranch. And as we all know, because of the income, she had to make sure that she's going to this ranch to make sure that she gets money for the family. But then after the training, she requested the boss to give her time so that she can also reach out to other women in the community. But when this guy refused, she said, you know what, my interest is all about the Maasai woman. I was trained to empower other women. So if this will make me fail, then I'll quit my job, not because I have money to take care of my family, but because I'm so interested, I'm passionate to make sure that the Maasai woman is empowered. And so she left this job. And look, Chesengei is now training other women. She has established a tree nursery. She's training other women in the community, and not just women, but even the men, to initiate these climate resilience projects in their different communities. Chesengei also says that she wants to make sure that women in this community have energy-saving jikos, they have rainwater harvesting, and she wants to see the community transformed, courtesy of WANC and WEA. So join us together, ladies and gentlemen, even as we support the grassroots women in Kenya, not just in Masai. We have communities in Kenya, in Kakamega, communities in Narok, communities in Kitui, communities in Taita Taveta and at the coast. So join me together in this work of transformation to conserve the environment, to train the women, to address climate change issues, because this is what is happening on the ground, and together we shall make a difference in our communities.
You're right, and we are glad that you have listened to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Yeah, we are one, we are together.
Gosh, I love hearing from Rose and Stella, and we are just so grateful for their partnership and their guidance of this incredible and timely work. Their leadership throughout the years has been such a key ingredient to the impact we're able to have. And we're honored to collaborate with them and to be able to celebrate them and the work of grassroots women on days like today. A few things. I'm seeing some questions in the chat, and I just wanted to be sure everybody had those answers. So this training in the Maasai community that Rose and Stella just spoke about is located in Narok County, Kenya, which is southwest Kenya, just west of Nairobi. She did say 40,000 trees. The women and their groups have established multiple tree nurseries growing 40,000 native tree saplings. And let me just double check. Stella was able to join on the call. So I just wanted to open it up, Stella, if you had anything you wanted to share after the video or just to say hi to everyone.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here and to make a mention and a comment on the videos that you've just seen. And I would wish to address all of us who are watching and just ask you to think about this, the effects of international flow of knowledge and international flow of finances, and the impact it causes in gender mainstreaming among women and social innovation. Because all these four are coming together and really being exemplified in the videos that we have seen. And on this, I really want to thank WEA, because when we talk of international flow of finances, then we are saying whatever you people have been able to contribute and send down all the way to Kenya has rippled up and is showing all that we are doing. And therefore, I would want to encourage everyone that is watching this, that it's good to embrace what WEA has done, that through international flow of finances, you can be able to touch the lives of women down here, and you can be able to improve the state of Mother Nature as such. And looking at international flow of knowledge. And I want to talk about this in the sense that if you compare where the women are now and where they were before, it's so evident that there has been a flow with a positive impact on the women in terms of leadership, in terms of voicing their issues, in terms of taking up a step and carrying out interventions. And if you look at the interventions that have been shown in the videos, it's so evident that the women are actually embracing social innovations. And these social innovations are playing a great role in changing the status quo in terms of the positions and the roles that are held by women. And you can see an innovation like soap making, which women have learned through the international transformation of both knowledge and finances, to change the women who, like the Maasai women who had no say, who would not meet, who would not lead, into women that can make their soap and sell and produce products that can be acceptable in the community and put money in their pockets and put food on their tables. So we are really talking about these 4 items: international flow of knowledge, international flow of finances. We are talking about social innovation, and we are talking about gender mainstreaming. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stella. I'm seeing some clapping, definitely clapping for that. I see a question in the chat that I wanted to ask you. Alice, who's from our US Accelerator, asks, do women also share in building the homes and buildings back after the floods? Is there training or technical planning assistance for adaptation as well as mitigation and resilience?
Thank you. I'll take the first part of that question, whether women really also share in rebuilding homes. In the Maasai community, actually, putting up of the homes like the Manyata that you've been seeing, the small tiny huts, is a business of women. The men do not build their houses. So these women really need to be supported to be able to put up the houses after the climate change impacts that we saw. So what we are doing is trying to see whether we can help them come up with the income generating activities or interventions that can enable them to continue running their family. So it's true, women actually at the center of rebuilding of their houses and homes in general. That is the first aspect. And come again on the second one, my dear.
Is there training or technical assistance planning? Is there training or technical planning assistance for adaptation, like climate adaptation, as well as mitigation, climate mitigation?
Thank you so much. We have talked about the impacts of climate change, and we have shown them. We have talked of floods, we have talked of droughts, we have talked of food insecurity and all that. And I want to say that the further that you've come and the interventions that we have been able to talk about, it's really WEA's initiative. They have been able to support financially and enable WWANC to be able to come up with interventions in mitigation. And talking about mitigation, then we are thinking of interventions that we have put in place to be able to slow down the impact of the effect of the impact of climate change on the woman. And mitigation, we're talking of interventions that we have tried to put up to stop or try to reduce the impact. So when it comes to mitigation, the area that has really been, we have concentrated on is tree planting. We have taught the women on how to do their tree nurseries, how to plant, how to transplant and put in the pots, and how to finally plant in their farms. And of course, management of the tree until you get a tree that is standing. So that is going on for mitigation. And then for adaptation, there are a number of interventions that I can talk of, including providing or training the women in water systems that can be able to help them achieve rainwater harvesting capacity. So we come up with systems for rainwater harvesting. Like in the Narok scenario, they just ended training. We were able to provide the women, the group that we visited, we provided them with a tank that is going to enable them to be able to harvest the rainwater. So this then can be used in watering the nursery beds. the seedlings within the nursery, the plants that have already been transplanted, and even the general management of the trees as they grow. But this can also be used in irrigation in their garden, the kitchen gardens that the ladies have. So you find them being able to raise vegetables and short season crops that they can be able to sell. So that is a good example of adaptation. And also to mention, we are training them on coming up or being able to embrace the use of the energy saving vehicles. And just in the recently ended training, we were able to put up and to train the women on how to use the energy saving vehicles. We are actually hoping, if you look at the action plans that they put up, like Rose said, they have actually requested that it would be prudent if each one of them would be able to get an energy saving vehicle, because this then is going to reduce on emission of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. It is also going to reduce on the amount of wood that is cut down to form wood fuel that they are using. And because our aim is really climate justice, we feel this will be a very good intervention in terms of mitigation and adaptation to climate change. Then, of course, we have the COVID one, soap making. And apart from being an intervention in responding to COVID-19, this is an income generating activity which the women are really excited about, together with their husbands and their families in general, because then they can be able to make the soap and sell out to schools, colleges, and make some money that they can use even in running their homes and rebuilding their houses and homes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stella, and thank you for sticking with us and continuing to try to jump on this evening for you. We're going to keep going because I definitely want to get to your tree planting section. So now we're going to transition to the tree planting workshop portion of our call, because it's really all about joining together with our colleagues and with alliance leaders in Kenya and around the world and taking action for women and climate. And for that, I am going to turn it over to WEA's programs coordinator, Tarita, to start us off.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to see you on this call. So today we are inviting you to join us in pledging to grow trees this International Women's Day. And before we show you the tree planting demonstration, we wanted to ground you in some information about why are we planting trees. And of course, like Kahea mentioned, we'll be sharing all of this information in an email as well. So while this is a tree planting workshop, we prefer to think of it as tree growing. And so what really is tree growing? And if trees are to be an effective climate solution, simply putting a seedling in the ground isn't effective. We need to be nurturing the sapling to maturity so that it can reach its full carbon storage potential. And that's really what tree growing is. There are obviously other considerations in terms of planting the right species, which are ideally local or native to your area and in the right conditions, mainly referring to not having monoculture plantations of trees, but rather diversity in that tree growing. So trees can actually be very helpful in storing carbon, and a mature tree can actually store up to 48 pounds of carbon dioxide every year. And studies show that we have the land to plant more than 1 trillion trees globally. So if you think of it as a natural climate solution, it's pretty cost effective, and it has multiple socioeconomic benefits, from improving our air and water quality to providing tangible livelihood and income opportunities to our grassroots women leaders, like you've heard Rose and Stella talk about. And just to give you an example of these real life instances, I wanted to share some of the direct impact that the women in our Kenya trainings are having. More than 9,000 people have been directly engaged in tree planting across Kenya, and the women in the tree in our training programs have started over 100 native plant nurseries, which then have grown over 40,000 tree saplings. The women have also started mobilizing over $200 in profits every month for their entire community. So that's on top of the income that they just generate from selling their saplings. This is pure profits. So I really hope that you've been inspired by what you've heard today and that you do join us in growing trees. And now I'd like to introduce you to one of WEA's partners, Julia Jackson, who is the founder of Grounded, which is an organization that identifies and advances scalable climate crisis solutions to ensure a thriving planet. Julia will share why it's important for us to come together in collective action today and a vision for the planet with healthy forests and trees. Julia.
Thank you guys so much for having me. As you know, we're in a climate crisis, and with every problem, there's always solutions available. I founded grounded.org to amplify solutionists all around the world and the work they're doing. And we don't have any silver bullet solution to reverse the carbon emissions in our atmosphere, but collectively, we need a concert of solutions and solutionists and a network to be able to work as a united front. And back in 2019, in November, 11,000 scientists signed a climate emergency, meaning that the urgency is really present. And trees in particular, we talk a lot about reforestation and deforestation. And I was studying proforestation, which really is conservation at its core, because a mature tree really is more efficient at sequestering carbon from the atmosphere. So mature trees take up to 100 to 200 years to really function in their whole ecosystem in a holistic way to more efficiently sequester more carbon from the atmosphere. So proforestation is basically leaving old growth trees and growing trees alone. And that's why conservation and biodiversity are so important, as is planting trees, because we have 417 parts per million of carbon in the atmosphere. We're emitting about 40 billion tons per year. So it's just accumulating and accumulating. And on top of that, intact tropical forests all around the world used to actually about 20 years ago sequester more carbon than they can currently today. Was 17% of global greenhouse gas emissions were sequestered by intact global tropical forests. And now that number is down to 6%. So our tropical forests are only able to sequester 6%, and that number is declining. So not only do we have to plant trees, we also need to really conserve biodiversity and empower indigenous communities. Another statistic that really was eye-opening to me, and I think our indigenous communities are our unsung climate heroes, because 80% of the most biodiverse regions in the world are occupied by indigenous communities, and they're our rightful caretakers and stewards of our planet. And so we have to, the Global Safety Net, which is an organization or an initiative through the organization One Earth, and I really love this solution out there as a solutionist framework. The Global Safety Net is a map showing that we have to protect 50% of the planet, and they have this mapped out, like which regions, which wildlife corridors, which biodiverse regions. We have to protect 50% of the planet by 2030 in order to stay below 1.5 degrees Celsius. And of that 50%, 37% of those territories are occupied by indigenous communities. So I really believe in the power of BIPOC communities and indigenous communities, and empowering them, in particular women, to reverse the climate crisis. And so we have to band together as a community. And at Grounded, we really want to amplify and empower indigenous communities and learn from their knowledge, wisdom, and support them as solutionists, because they're not victims, they're our leaders of the future. And we have many different initiatives going on at Grounded to empower solutionists all around the world, whether it be regenerative ag, conservation efforts, carbon capturing technologies, different women, and really happy to be here with the Women's Earth Alliance. I really love the work you guys are doing. I'm really impressed by just how the 6 million people you guys have been able to impact, and you guys are really great solutionists. And I think that we need to function as a community, because trees have a mycelium root underground, and it's a network you can't see, it's invisible, but each tree is swapping nutrients and helping its neighboring tree. If there's a diseased tree, its neighboring tree will send nutrients over underneath its mycelium network in order to protect the neighboring tree. So we all have to learn from trees and mycelium roots, really to love each other more and to protect each other more and to function more as a global community. We can't reverse the climate crisis in silos. We have to de-silo, come together, and function like a mycelium root system. And so I believe in trees. I believe in what you guys are doing, especially in Kenya. It's really amazing. I believe in proforestation and empowering Indigenous communities to protect biodiversity in order to stay below 1.5 degrees Celsius. So anyways, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, thank you, and happy Women's Day.
Thank you so much for that powerful reminder and call to action, Julia, to be like mycelium. I'm seeing in the chat that a lot of people, that's really resonating. So thank you for presenting that and for being an incredible voice in this movement. Before we all directly learn from Stella how to plant a tree, I also just want to represent what Tarita said. We really encourage each and every one of you to pledge to plant at least one tree between now and Earth Day. If we are all functioning like mycelium and taking this pledge, like I honestly don't think there's anything we can't do. I think we could really stand alongside Stella and Rose and the women leaders in Kenya who are planting 40,000 trees. So plant it in honor of a woman in your life who has meant something to you. Plant it for the earth, plant it for future generations, but please join us in taking that pledge. We'll be following up with you through email after this call with many resources to assist you in fulfilling your pledge. And we encourage you to reply to that email with any follow-up questions, and not to forget to send us images or videos of you and your family in tree planting action. With that said, here is our last video for our call, and it is Stella walking us through the same kind of tree planting demonstration that our grassroots leaders went through in our COVID and climate resilience training.
My name is Stella Wanjala, co-founder of WWANC. Today we have an opportunity to be in the Maasai community. We've been here for the last 2 days. This is our final day. We are doing a demonstration on how to plant trees, and we would like to use this to speak to the people who are celebrating the World International Women's Day, and so that we all move together in trying to ensure we plant trees wherever we come from. We'll go through a short demonstration on tree planting, and first of all we look at the seedling that you're picking out from the nursery bed for planting, and it needs to be healthy, standing on a relatively large enough pot or socket, and growing straight up with the apical bud still in place. So this is a good example for a nice seedling that we can use. Next thing is look at the hole that we're going to use for planting, and our hole should be at least 2 feet deep. And the way it is dug is such that we remove the topsoil, put it aside, then we continue digging out the subsoil. And the reason is because the topsoil has a lot of nutrients, and that's what we want to use to put back and ensure that our plant is using the nutrients even to grow. So we put the topsoil aside, like Chesenge is doing. Then we mix the topsoil and manure. This is organic manure, which we prefer. Given that we're talking about climate change mitigation, we try to avoid the use of inorganic fertilizers. So we mix that up in a ratio of 1:1. That would do. And then after that, we make the hole. Chesenge, you can put back some of the soil. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Good. Just put back. Put the soil. I think that's okay, isn't it? So then we will remove the plastic paper that is used to hold the soil nicely, yeah, like she's doing. Pushing it together ensures that it gets separated from the soil so the roots can be retained. And just make sure our roots are intact. Yeah, the roots should be intact so that then the plant can be able to take root well. So once we are sure about that our roots are okay, then we come and put it into our hole. Thank you, Chesenge. So you straight. Then we put back our soil while we press around it so that it gets firm and well held into the ground. Yeah, so we put that, yeah, and normally, if it's during the rain season, you may not have to leave space for water. But if it's during dry season, then we leave slightly some space, part of the hole, so that if it rains, then the water can collect there. So it depends on when you are planting. But I think that will be okay, Chesenge. We can leave it at that. Then after that, we mulch. We put mulch all around it. So that we avoid evaporation, loss of water through evaporation. So we have it there. And then we water the plant over the mulch that we have put so that the water does not hit the soil directly. Yes, that is it. So once that is done, then we want to do protection of this seedling or the tree that we have now planted. So we put pieces of wood. For us, that's what we do here. In other places, they would use metallic rods, but we use the pieces of wood that we can easily get. So we put them in such a way that we avoid animals like the goats, the sheep, even chicken from coming around and destroying or pulling out our plant. So, yeah. Naweza mletea kitu ya kufunga hapa ama imeshikana. Yeah, she's okay. So once this is done, we are sure the tree is protected, and so we are sure that our domestic animals will not destroy the trees, but it can still access sunlight and continue with the processes of life. And after that, every time we have to come check the plant, then make sure there are no weeds growing around it so that it can be able to grow. And the most important thing is not really planting the tree, but taking care of it until you're sure that it has been able to take root and it grows into a tree. And normally we would give it a name, probably a name that you love, so that it compels you, pulls you towards the tree every now and then. You can come over and see how your tree is doing. And this is really good because when children plant trees, even at home, the tree causes them to come back. Even if they are working far off, they would love to come and see how their tree is doing based on the name they gave the tree. And I think that will help us to ensure that our tree grows. And that is it. Thank you so much.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Stella, for pulling that together. I think I'm seeing in the chat, and I think we all kind of felt very moved by the idea of naming the tree. And I think that's something that we can, you know, as we all take this pledge between now and Earth Day in April to plant a tree, let's think about who we want to name this tree for. Let's think about engaging our children and having them plant a tree as well. So thank you for walking us through these steps, and the reminder that it's not just the 6 minutes it takes to plant the tree, but it's the caring for the tree too. It's the growing the tree. That's a key component. So thank you. And thank you, Julia, for your words once again. Thank you, Tarita, and thank you all of you for joining us today. It's really powerful to see us all coming together like this on this very special day. And while we're just about coming to the close of today's call, we want to be respectful of everybody's time, but we want to be sure that you know that this isn't a stopping point, it's a beginning. And there are many, many ways to weave yourself deeper and stay plugged into this alliance and our work moving forward. If you follow WEA on social media, you'll know that we have some incredible International Women's Day partnerships we've been sharing with Pillowcase, eco-fashion brand Yes And, consciously created footwear company Keen, and more. Later today at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern United States time, we hope you'll join WEA and Yes And for a conversation on women's empowerment in the global sustainability narrative. Melinda Kramer, WEA's co-director, will be speaking alongside ecopreneur and Yes And founder Marcy Zaroff, sustainability editor for Mind Body Green Emma Lowe, plastic-free ocean advocate and TV host Danny Washington, and zero waste entrepreneur Lauren Singer of Trash is for Tossers. You can find all that information to register on WEA's social media platforms. And with that said, thank you all so much for joining us for celebrating International Women's Day with action and for believing in women and a thriving future. Please don't forget to send us photos and videos. There's a slide on your screens right now. Please don't forget to send us photos and videos of yourselves planting trees. From everyone in our Global Alliance, thank you. We hope you have a great rest of your day. For 1 second, I would love if we could all just, maybe Tarita, if we could quickly unmute everyone and we could all just say goodbye so that we know we're here together and we're taking this pledge together. So maybe we can go ahead and do that. You're all unmuted.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
Musani mevumilia sana. Musani mevumilia sana.